How many titles do you see Steph Curry winning over the next 4 years?
You know what, I hate to say this right now, but to be honest with you, I don't see the Golden State Warriors bringing home another championship.
Y'all gonna sit on First Take. You and Dominique Foxworth are going to sit on First Take and say that Steph Curry will not be in the conversation for a championship in the next 4 years.
Every single false narrative that people had about Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors prior to this regular season and postseason were just silenced in the most emphatic way possible, as the Dubs have now won their 4th chip of the Steph era, and believe it or not, Steph Curry is a Finals MVP. Yes, it really happened.
The Golden State Warriors return to a familiar place. They're on top of the NBA world. The 4th title in 8 years.
But before we talk about the chef and how he ironically cooked Boston all series long, no, like he really cooked Boston, putting up 36 points a game on 55, 53, 93 shooting splits in their home arena, and just straight up disrespecting them with some of the shot making in games 4 and 6. But before then, we've got to give credit to his running mates and the second best YouTuber mentioned in this video, Draymond Green, of course. Because after looking like a liability the first few games of the series, he stepped it up on both ends of the floor. I mean, Draymond was so good that he even knocked down not 1, not 2, but 3 jump shots in the game. And according to my calculations that I just made up then, those were the only 3 jump shots he made all series long. But as impactful as the offense was, it's just nothing compared to the defense he was playing. Watch this play. The Celtics go to run a pick and roll, and Williams just slips the screen a fraction early, which catches both Looney and Wiggins off guard, leading to what would normally be an open dunk, but not against Draymond, who is alert and slides over at the perfect time to get in his space and force the turnover. And then just a minute later, Tatum has the ball on the baseline. He's unable to shake Draymond and is forced further baseline, where Looney helps off to block his vision. And the instant Looney rotates, Draymond rotates to Rob Williams in anticipation of that pass and steals it. This is genius off-ball defense and anticipation that we have come to know and love with Draymond. But when you pair that with what he was doing to Jaylen Brown on the ball, keeping him to under 30% from the floor when they were directly matched up, that's what makes Draymond such a special and impactful player for this team. But do you guys remember when Brian Windhorst, yes, this guy, talked about checkbook wins and how the Warriors were just winning because of the checkbook? Well, let me remind you once again that Gary Payton II was passed up by 29 other teams. He's on a minimum contract and gave the Warriors 46 minutes over the last 2 games and was the player with the highest plus minus in both of those games, a combined plus 34 in those 46 minutes of action. And we already know how impactful he is and why he's so impactful, but a player that found out the hard way is Jaylen Brown. On this first play, GP2 is shading Brown to the left, potentially in anticipation of a screen from Horford, but the second JB puts the ball on the floor with the crossover, GP2 is on his hips and knocks the ball away within an instant. But the next steal is truly special defense. Watch as Smart brings the ball up the floor. GP2 has his eyes fixed on Brown with slight glances towards Smart to prevent the backdoor cuts. Now, despite this, Brown does use his acceleration to get a little bit of separation, which Steph reads perfectly and gets in the way of before he spins off Steph and runs straight into none other than Gary Payton II, who absolutely rips the ball out of his hands. And these were just 2 of his 6 steals in the last 2 games, including 2 other ones against Jaylen Brown. Yes, 4 steals in 2 games against the same player. And he's not the only one that's going to be having nightmares about individual Warriors defenders. Jason Tatum is going to be up at night thinking about Andrew Wiggins and how he kept him in prison 40 minutes a night for 6 games of these finals. Just to truly emphasize how good he did, these are the first 3 rounds of the playoffs for Jason Tatum. and this is the finals. And he did it all the way till the very last possession. Just like on this play, with 3 minutes left in game 6. Smart tries to set an off-ball screen on Wiggins to free up the lane for Tatum, but Wiggins does a fantastic job at navigating the screen and preventing the entry pass. He then stays in the lane and prevents a floater from Smart before rotating back out to Tatum and forcing a travel. It's this kind of intensity on every possession that kept Tatum to just 13 points in the biggest game of his life. And then of course, what good would this video be if we weren't going to talk about the finals MVP himself, who had yet another spectacular performance? But there's one part of that performance that I really want to focus on. 10 minutes left in the third quarter, the Warriors are up 57-44, and the Celtics actually have a little bit of momentum, and the crowd is starting to get into the game. Well, that's when Steph decides to do what Steph does. The first play is an offensive rebound, with of course Andrew Wiggins grabbing it before kicking it out to Steph, who pump fakes 2 defenders, composes himself, and knocks it in. A couple of possessions later, the Celtics show on Wiggins' screen, so Steph finds Wiggs on the short roll, who kicks it out to Otto for a wide open 3. And once again, you've heard me say this a few times, but that is all created because of Steph drawing the double team. The very next possession, Draymond has the ball in semi-transition, he gives it up to Steph and sets a screen, which Steph steps around and drains a 3 right in the face of the Defensive Player of the Year. But that's still not it, because the next possession after, the Celtics strike back, Curry draws 2 defenders again and finds Otto, who knocks down the triple. But this is when the final dagger happens. A transition 30-foot 3, and all of a sudden, what was a 13-point game with 10 minutes left in the third quarter is now a 22-point game, and he is pointing to his 4th ring finger because that's exactly what he knew he was getting after that barrage of points, all created because of Steph Curry's playmaking and shot making. But this wasn't the first time Steph had shown out in the third quarter. In fact, he owned the third quarters during the finals, recording 63 points on incredible efficiency and an incredible plus-minus. But the beauty of this Warriors team is you can go through the entire roster and find players who made massive differences all throughout the playoffs. Well, maybe not Chris Chiozza, but everyone else, Kevon Looney, turned into Dennis Rodman against the Mavericks and against the Grizzlies. We saw what Jordan Poole did in the first couple of rounds, dropping 30 every other night. I mean, Moses Moody dropped 10 points in a crucial game against Dallas. All of these players contributed, but I think I'll save all of that for a later video. Until then, drop a like if you enjoyed. Also drop a like because I did say the Warriors in 6, and you know, it was the Warriors in 6. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for all the support. Have a great day. Bye.